Ladies and gentlemen, let's be upstanding. This is a toast to Nigeria, our country, a great country, highly revered country, not only in Africa, but the entire world, a country that boasts of great potentials, not only in engineering, in agriculture, name it, whatever you want to think of, Nigeria, our country, has it. And this toast is to the greatness of our country, a country that we are very hopeful will continue to grow from height to height, a country that within no time will be a secured country, a country all Nigerians will be proud of. Cheers. Thank you.
While we remain standing, I'm going to invite up to the stage to propose a toast to engineering practitioners and the practice of engineering in Nigeria. Ladies and gentlemen, I want a thunderous applause because she is a woman like me. So help me receive tonight Mrs. Justina Erua as she proposes a toast to the engineering profession. Engineers, please appreciate your spouse.
The President, Council for the Regulation of Engineering in Nigeria, practitioners of engineering in Nigeria, this is a toast to greater engineering practice in Nigeria. Hip, hip, hip.
Please appreciate her. Please appreciate her as you take the wine. Thank you. You may kindly be seated, please. You may kindly be seated, so we'll proceed with the program. Time now to listen to a thought-provoking dinner talk. Speaking to us this evening is an academic with experience spanning over a period of 28 years. He holds a PhD in management with specialization in marketing. He is currently a professor in management in the Department of Business Administration and Entrepreneurship, Bayero University, Kano. He was one of the 6 scholars selected from the first and second generation of universities in Nigeria for the Fulbright Visiting Researcher scheme sponsored by United States State Department, where he secured placement with Linus University, Macomb, in the United States of America for a period of 9 months. He has served as a guest lecturer at several forums and does consulting work with numerous organizations. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, let's together welcome tonight Mr. Mukhtar Haliru for the dinner talk. Let's encourage him. Give him a warm round of applause. Let's keep clapping until he comes up stage. We have 20 minutes for the dinner talk. I must apologize. He is a professor. So I would call him again Professor Haliru Mukhtar. Please let's appreciate him before he starts.
Uh, President Coren, past presidents, good evening. I cut the protocol very short. When I was asked to come talk to about 2,000 engineers, I was a bit nervous because I know little about engineering, but I will try to establish a link between what you do and what we think as entrepreneurs. Before I get started, since the dinner, I thought I would start on a lighter note and proceed with this. It said several years back, a governor was elected in a state in Nigeria, and he was very passionate about education, so he chose to visit some secondary schools to establish level of educational decay, if you will. And on getting to the school, the principal was there, the head teacher, and he asked to interact with students in SS2, the art option, given that he studied English and literature. And he asked one of the students, who wrote Macbeth? And the student said, I was not the one that wrote it. I wasn't there when they wrote Macbeth. And His Excellency was a bit worried. He did ask again, who wrote Macbeth? And the student said, whenever they do something bad in this school, they always call me. I don't know. And the head teacher stepped forward and whispered to His Excellency and said, Excellency, sir, he wouldn't know because they've not started teaching them geography. So at that point, the governor knew that it was dead on arrival. So trip cut short, education has gone very bad, and he decided to proceed to the traditional ruler's palace and shared his concern with the traditional ruler. And the traditional ruler also replied to him that these children are not well raised. If you check thoroughly, that boy must have been part of those that wrote Macbeth. And he knew that the problem was actually being compounded. And on getting home with his spouse, as is normal at night, relaying his event for the day, his experience, and told his wife this is what is going on. The wife said to him, this is why I said to you that forget about second term. Because during first time they are writing Macbeth, only God knows what they will write next. And that meant that even his wife was in need of remedial tutelage. And then finally, after 2 weeks, the Commissioner of Police came, Excellency, I have good news for you. We finally arrested those that wrote Macbeth. We rounded up some boys, we beat them thoroughly, and they signed confessional statements. Ladies and gentlemen, that didn't actually happen. That was just my own creation. The whole idea is to try to establish the fact that in a number of sectors in Nigeria, we're facing major challenges, as it were. And the engineering profession is indeed a very noble one. And we want to believe that with the crop of engineers you have and the leadership we have here today, we are not likely to have a Macbeth scenario in engineering practice. Now, having said that much, I want to state that engineering for us in entrepreneurship, we find it a very fundamental discipline, a profession, if you will, for the simple fact that the world over, we are witnessing major phenomenal changes driven largely by innovation and information technology. And this invariably connects directly with the engineering profession. The disconnect we notice is that the academia, where I come from, we stand on one side of the divide, and then you have students who work year in, year out, turn out major innovations and what have you. It all comes to an end just for the purpose of graduation or just earning a grade, if you will. But we're hoping that with the triple helix model, where we would have academia, university on one hand, and of course the industry on the other hand, and of course the government, all working together, we should be able to make the best of this particular profession. Now, if you will permit me, I will state that there are a number of platforms where engineers could actually look into as investment opportunities, if you will. Year in, year out, we have what we call the enactors, students in entrepreneurship, cutting across various universities and polytechnics in Nigeria that compete on a platform annually in Lagos, where they try to select the best school. For this year, Covenant University actually placed first, and they will be representing Nigeria in California next month to compete with 42 other countries, all coming with their national champions. By the way, ABU came second, and my humble school, BUK, came third, unfortunately. Having said that, the students did showcase a number of projects that leverage heavily on innovation and technology. Now, the sad part is that at the end of the whole exercise, it ends as just mere a competition, if you will, and then the whole thing dies. We feel that there are opportunities that are startups that could be scaled up, and that will prevent unimaginable employment opportunities for people, and of course also commendable financial benefit. As we speak today, we've got students from Bio University, 3 of them, right now in the UK, for a competition that is called the Holt Prize $1 million competition. They did put in entries with several other universities in the whole African space, and only Bio University and one university from South Africa qualified to join 40 other schools in the UK to compete for the 6th finalists to go to New York and compete for a $1 million prize. Now, what the students did in BUK was very simple. They thought that we have challenges with environmental degradation because of source of energy. People just cut down trees with reckless abandon, and that, of course, gives rise to desert encroachment, desertification, and what have you. And they thought that they could find an alternative to cheap source of energy. Now we have in agricultural produce waste that they've put together using a solar-powered technology that threshes and processes this agricultural waste into briquettes that burn more efficiently than firewood, cheaper, produce better energy, and environmentally friendly. Now, this is a major investment opportunity, if you ask me, which, of course, the lead of the team comes from mechanical engineering Bio University, which is, of course, he will eventually be like one of you, hopefully. And so we're saying that there are lots of opportunities that are open that engineers could draw from. Before I begin to bore you, very quickly, if you'll permit me, I would explain what I see as engineering. Correct me if you think I'm wrong. It says engineering is the creative application of science, mathematical methods, and empirical evidence to the innovation, design, construction, operational maintenance of structures, machines, materials, device systems, processes, and organizations for the benefit of humanity. Key, benefit of humanity. So which means that engineering practice, beyond just a profession, eventually it will be something that will add value to humans and of course become very fulfilling for those that are in the practice. Now for us as entrepreneurs, what do we see? We see it as a method of designing, launching, and running a new business. It is the capacity and willingness to develop, organize, and manage a business venture along with the risks in order to recognize the commercial potential of the invention into a commercially viable innovation. Now this cuts across every sector, but most of all our concern is with the engineering sector. With a population of well over 200 million Nigerians, at the last count, Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria said we have a housing deficit of 17 million houses. this directly connects with engineering space, which means that as a sector, housing becomes something that we'll probably want to look at, and that there's been massive housing projects in Abuja, in Lagos. As numerous as they are, it will shock you to know that it's only filling up 1% of the housing requirements, and even more disturbing, they are targeting high-income earners, which means that middle-income earners, low-income earners cannot possibly dream of owning homes. So we're looking at an opportunity where engineers could look at how possible is it to come up with concepts that will deliver houses at affordable rates. One of the major challenges we face is the change of force of habit, which is we're used to using one basic technology. For us, not in engineering, we have seen something called the Hydra form blocks, which would not require plastering and a whole lot of things, which is usually produced using normal earth and all of that, providing power and getting local people to actually partake in that project. That could actually deliver a lot of houses at very affordable rates. Having said that, one major area is infrastructure. In 2014, the then president of Federal Republic of Nigeria, Goodluck Ebele Jonathan, did say that in the next 30 years from 2014, we'll need an investment of well over $2.9 trillion to be able to provide the infrastructure requirements for this country. Meaning that there will be provision for massive construction works where you need a lot of earth movers, the bulldozers and all of that. And that, of course, naturally means that there could be an opportunity, if you will, for equipment assembly. Of course, it's going to be capital intensive, but that means you can actually have CKDs, knockdown parts that will be assembled and actually sold in Nigeria. Retailing. Nigeria is a highly consumerist society in the sense that we are driven more by acquisition, affluence, products to be able to communicate our own story of our success in life. And for that reason, a number of multinational corporations have keyed into this space. The Nestle's, the Cadbury's, the ShopRites, they keep setting up more and more outlets year in, year out because people just keep shopping. And which means that this could also be an opportunity that could actually be considered. But the engineering part of it is that for younger people, they are more taken by their convenience and the modern technology of online shopping. So a number of people have thought of designing apps that could actually create that platform for people to buy without having to physically move into shops and stores. And you have the PayPals, you have the Konga, the Alibaba Express, and a whole lot of them. So that also becomes an area that I probably want to take a second look at. Security is becoming a major concern, and increasingly people want to raise their walls even higher than ever before at the risk of distorting the aesthetics of the environment. So another option is people think about barbed wires, electrified fences, and all of that, which also eventually still connects to engineering practice. Then, of course, some years back, I think University of Ife or Obafemi Awolowo University, Ife or Ibadan, I can't remember exactly, they did come up with this technology of using palm kernel shells to produce friction materials. The idea was that the friction material used to produce brake parts are largely imported, which is unnecessarily expensive. So they thought they could actually produce that, and they did, and they subjected it to test, and it passed. And they tried liaising with Peugeot Automobile Nigeria, PAN, but it didn't pan out the way they thought it should. So oftentimes you have people that come up with laudable ideas, and on platforms like this, government officials clap, and after that, it dies. So we're not entirely a useless nation as people perceive us. We have people like you who could actually be very, very innovative, but they require the support to be able to ensure that this actually sees the light of day. And of course, also, we have a whole lot of other range of opportunities open to us. The scrap metal business. Nigeria is one place where nothing is of totally zero value. In developed countries, you change your tires, you pay them for disposing of your tires. In Nigeria, you change your tires, somebody buys the tires, even if it will kill him eventually, but he buys them as fairly used tires and use it for commercial purposes, and then you have a flying casket on the road, as it were. Scrap metal, every piece of metal is actually bought. It has an amazing value chain, right from the guy who scavenges, and it goes up till the trucks are loaded, and then eventually there is recycling. So that's a major opportunity that probably we'll see as a waste that people understand is not actually a waste. And then, of course, you have the auto repairs. As a non-engineer, I've had a major frustration, and that is you buy a fairly used car that we call new cars in confusion, which is as a result of a very bad economy. So you go and buy a car used by some white man after some accident, shipped into Nigeria. People come and congratulate you for buying a car of 2013 year of manufacture. So to solve the confusion of new, we change the lexicon in English in Nigeria. We introduce brand new. It's either new or not new. Because in Nigeria, we say brand new or tear leather just to differentiate. So it's actually supposed to be fairly used or extensively used, as the case may be. So, so you buy these cars. These cars are highly automated with so much electronic devices. So much so that the regular random roadside mechanic can't handle it, doesn't have the knowledge. So what he will tell you is that don't buy. You want to buy a Mercedes? I spoke to some mechanic in Kano. I want to buy a Mercedes. He said to me that if you want to buy a Mercedes, if you want peace, don't buy anything earlier than 2008. The reason is very simple. He cannot grapple with the complications of a 2014, 2016 Mercedes. It's not as if it's a bad car. Once it develops a problem, your funeral is almost prepared because the car won't work again. So we have people who are in mechatronics, who have trained as engineers, who can actually relate with software and all of that. And that means that people can actually go abroad and get certification from Daimler-Benz and come in, set up very amazing auto workshops, and charge people appropriately. Nigerians will be willing to pay as long as they find solutions to their problems. And of course, also we have the issue about the solar technology. The solar technology, as simple, as operational as it is, again, we get discouraged because those that have the expertise tell us that it doesn't work. I shouldn't say that, okay. A very senior colleague actually said to me that don't go into solar, it doesn't work. And I asked, have you used it? No, they said it doesn't work. But I have somebody who studied law, who built a house where there is no national presence of KEDCO, and he's lived there for 6 months and he's on solar. And I go to his house, everything is working. He's not an engineer, he's just a lawyer that goes to court and collects money from people when Buhari is looking for them. And but he has faith that it's actually working, which means that people that have actually used it understand, of course, it has its own downsides. It can't power all your ACs and all that, but basic things it could actually give to you. So we think there is an area. So what you find is people who do not have the expertise are the ones that are actually grappling into the area and actually creating more complications for people, if you ask me. And then, of course, in recent times, we've had issues with having to think about 3D designs, 3D printings, and all of that. These are all engineering-related issues. I was at Covenant University for a conference, and I saw somebody displaying a printer. What does it do? It actually prints, fabricates parts. So you look at an engine, and then you use some plastic material, and it's actually able to produce it as it should look like. You can call it a prototype. So the thinking is that you can take it to the next level and now look for the proper materials to use, and eventually you'll be able to actually fabricate parts that ordinarily would have actually been imported into Nigeria. And of course, we love very good food. So because of that, we keep needing to have stainless pots, stainless cutlery. All of these are things that are directly connected to the engineering space. So in a nutshell, I would want to get off the stage when the ovation is still loud. And that is, all of these, as attractive as they will sound, will naturally require a business plan, a feasibility, detailed write-ups, a market survey, and what have you. And the biggest question we ask every time is, how do we fund it? To part, I will say, in Nigeria, we have lots of funds moving around, if you ask me, in the wrong sectors. I just read an article 2 days back, and I saw that the betting industry in 2018, last year, the total value of the bets that took place in Nigeria was 754 billion naira for bets. So what's this bet? Just to say Liverpool will beat Arsenal, just to say who will score the first goal, just to say who will come up as the winner in a game, who will score the second goal. All sorts of scenarios and permutations take place. And because it's just 100 naira, 200 naira, it sounds very small. The cumulative value runs into 750 billion. So we have Bet Niger sponsoring a very funny program, excuse my use of language, called Big Brother Nigeria, with hundreds of millions of naira. So what we do is that we pump money into areas that are not real sectors, that can't grow the economy. So when people bet, people come together and you see them snoring, sleeping, scheming, having sex, and all of that. And eventually somebody walks home with tens of millions of naira for a kangaroo exercise. In truth, we have real sectors where investments can actually be done, where employment will actually be created, where there will be life-changing technologies and what have you. So I'm suggesting that we'll begin to pay attention to those areas. And nobody can push that better than the engineers. For us as entrepreneurs, we only look out for the market opportunities for you and probably advise that these are areas where consumers will be swayed, but the technology in terms of information technology, in terms of innovation, can only come from the engineers like you, and a very noble profession, if you ask me. And I find the president an exemplary character. I hardly patronize people, but I will say that he's a very wonderful person. Thank you for allowing me to make some sense. And if I didn't make some sense along the way, pardon me for that. Have a wonderful 28th Assembly dinner. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
If indeed he has made some sense, please give him a better round of applause. Thank you very much, Prof. So now we're down to the business of tonight. It is time for us to wine and dine. We have 10 service points. Let me first state that we have enough food to go around everyone, so you don't have to struggle to eat. Just sit down and the ushers will direct you accordingly. We have about 10 service points scattered around the hall. So please just identify the service point closest to you, as the ushers will direct you accordingly. The caterers here, please allow our highly venerated dignitaries to eat from this service point. You can eat from any other service point, please. So thank you, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Dinner is served. Bon appetit. The police band is going to give us some soft music as we eat.
I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them bloom for me and you, and nothing to myself. What a wonderful world. I see skies so blue, clouds of white, the bright blacks the day, the dark sacred night, and nothing to myself. What a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the skies, are also on the faces of people going by. I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? They are really saying, I hear babies cry, I watch them grow, they will learn much more than I ever knew, and nothing to myself. What a wonderful world. Ain't nothing to myself. Ooh, what a wonderful world. roosters organic food in foreign corn. I don't believe the price of gold, the sanity of growing in old. The rod is dry, the lips is broke. The north and south could get along. The east is east, the west is west. A big difference is all we've been born. I believe.
Hello? Please, everybody should go back to his seat. The
Eba. Elena de Montiamo, Odiamo. Eba.
the caterers to my left, please stop serving. Let everybody go back to his seat first. The caterers, stop